Welcome. This is David Bowles, Human Meme. Today's topic: girl talk and gossip gangs. There isn't anything more caustic to a society, a family, a friendship, an institution, than gossip. And more in particular, a gossip. Oh, you know the type. A person who just can't wait to start telling you stories. Always bad, never good. Stories about someone you both know. And this gossip always happens behind the other person's back. Oh no, the gossip would never directly say those terrible things to the person in question. No, it's only fun when they can badmouth someone without them knowing they're getting stabbed in the back. No defense, no reason, no excuse. And as we look back over the course of human history, I'm still not quite sure how or why this badmouthing and gossip got started. The current stereotype is the gang of small-town little old ladies meeting on a Sunday afternoon, after church, meeting for coffee and tea and pastries to run down all the sins of their fellow parishioners. Oh, and back when I was growing up, that wasn't called gossiping or badmouthing. No, it was just simply called and excused as such as girl talk. Now we both know, you and I, that men are just as gossipy and backstabbing as any female. But someone attached the label, and it stuck. And so Gossip Girls became a thing, a specific gender thing that wasn't and still is not right. We have to condemn this sort of gossip everywhere we find it, no matter race, gender, or creed. Even the misnamed bitch session is more about complaining than solving. It's all just getting off your chest stuff about other people. Oh, and what about this group therapy? Sometimes it changes into gossip without the right direction. So sure, bitching, gossiping, all under the umbrella of feeling better together. We aren't complaining. We're sharing. Oh yes, my human meme friend, gossip ruins us as a society. Gossip rots us out from the inside with cruelty posing as laughter, and pride begging into gluttony. What is the point of running someone down? To make yourself feel better? And if gossiping makes you feel better, why not just say those rumors and innuendos right to the person you're talking about? Why not let them respond to your thoughts and feelings and criticisms? Maybe if that happened, you'd both feel better? Well, I know. What fun would that be? If the person you're talking about's right there in the room with you, you really can't run them down so easily. Can't really make things up about them. You just can't add a little spice to a true story to make your take on the lie even more telling and juicy. And another stereotype we need to crash right now is that the gossip is not limited to small towns and Sunday afternoon tea parties. Small towns where everyone knows each other's business all day, every day, and then at night you talk about how terrible your neighbors are all year long. Oh no, there's lots of gossip in the big city. Lots of telling tales out of school. So much tea spilling. Society seems to run on the bespoke lie. Reality TV makes gossip okay. We have magazines and television shows. that deal only in gossip, but they pretend to be about things, bigger things, like celebrity and news, when all they really are just rumor mills looking to grind up someone and spit them out for a little bit of profit. And good luck if you become fodder for one of those rumor mills. You will have no chance to have your say, or to tell what you really know and what actually happened. Nope, you're now stuck, hoping the topic gets changed, and the mode of attack gets redirected elsewhere and away from you. And maybe that's the point of being a gossip. You're protected from your own evildoing by talking about others because you know they're doing the same thing against you. Kill or be killed. An eye for an eye. A lie for a lie. That's the way of the gossip world now. When I was a wee lad, starting out in New York City, I worked for a major Broadway superstar. And every time we'd get together, he'd ask me this question: what's the word on the street? Oh, and I knew that meant he wanted me to tell him what I'd been hearing because we ran around in very different theatrical circles. And I didn't like that. It was a lot of pressure because really what he meant by, what's the word on the street, was this: what are people saying about me? It's better to be talked about in a bad way than never to be talked about at all, I guess he thought. So, yeah. It took me a while to figure that part out. What he really meant by word on the street. And when I would start telling him what I'd heard, my word on the street, he'd often say, "Oh, skip it," as if I wasn't sharing a good enough gossip story for him. And I learned through time and experience, the skip it thing wasn't really about me. It was about him. He wanted to know about himself. He wanted to know about people he knew and didn't like. He didn't want news or good stories. He wanted dirt. He wanted to know. And that was part of my job. I sort of had to do it because if I didn't have the word on the street for him every morning, then I wasn't involved. I didn't have a purpose or a value to him. And so I dutifully provided the word on the street. But I never lied. I never made things up. And I think he knew that and loved that in some odd way. I just shared general things that he found juicy because it felt like insider information to him when it wasn't really. I was just working around a lot of people in the business, and by human nature, they just all gossiped when they got together, and I would just sit there, not join in because I didn't know anything, and I would just listen. Overheard, I guess. I wasn't involved in the conversation, but later, with my boss, I rinsed and then repeated the word on the street. And yeah, it was awful. I hated it. But that job at the time was important to me, and it was time limited. So I did the best I could without getting too deep into the thin nasty. I knew the job would not last forever. And sometimes, when the gossip was more about him, and he didn't like it, he'd get all mad. And he'd go to the phone right there in front of me. Back then, we didn't have cellular phones, so you had to get up to use the phone. And right there in front of me, in real time, he would call the people who had gossiped about him that I had overheard and just shared with him. Talk about burning your sources. Well, I was scorched. Luckily, I was smart enough not to tell him everything, and I never told him the worst stuff. I told him just enough peppering, a flavoring of what was happening to get him off my back. But yes, still, I would later get in trouble when my phone rang, and I would get up to answer the phone. And the people on the other end of the line would ask me why I was telling tales out of school. Of course. And then those people would think back after getting a call from my boss, and they'd think back and they'd wonder, who was around? Who was in the room when that gossip was shared? And it was sort of easy to track me down, pin it on me because I was working for the guy who was calling and who they were talking about. And yes, a couple of times I was confronted over the phone, yelled at really, by some powerful people in the business. And I was caught. There was no running, there was no hiding. I just confessed. I told them what had happened. I told them about this word on the street thing, that pressure. And I explained to them the why now. And they pretty much forgave me right then. They understood that sort of pressure. And they believed me over my boss because they knew he was a terrible person who made people do things just like that, snitch, just for his own personal fun, and then rat them out. And that's why he, my boss, was such a ripe vehicle for Broadway gossip. And everyone around my boss knew that about him. But my boss was not self-aware. He did not know. And once the word kind of got out about what was happening with me and him and the word on the street, I realized some people would tell me things, gossip things, to try to get changed behavior from my boss. They wanted me to tell him things that might make him think twice. But that stuff, that behavior control sort of gossip, I did not participate in. I did not repeat. I didn't want any part of that gossip circle inside a gossip gang, because that was just a little too mind-bending for me. And so I would listen and nod and not rinse and repeat the word on the street. And the terrible part of all of this gossipy stuff was that my mentor at Columbia University, Howard Stein, we've talked about him before. Howard Stein hated gossip. He called it backstabbing, and it infuriated him. And in the theater, backstabbing gossip is everywhere, always. It's part of your day. You cannot escape it. So you can rail against gossip, while never avoiding it or solving it. But it is better to despise gossip than to ever be a part of it. And any student, gossip rumors, heard in the Oscar Hammerstein II Center for Theater Studies in the Columbia University School of Arts in the city of New York, well, you were flayed by the chair of the department if you gossiped. Lesson learned. I think I have enough success on my own now for at least the last 25 years, and that Broadway boss is now long dead and gone. I have my own success that I no longer have to play that gossip game. No more word on the street for me. I keep my mouth shut, but my ears are always open. And if people I meet ask me, hey, what's up? I know what's up means tell me the gossip. And I just say nothing much and flip it back on over to them. What's up with you, dog? And then the game is on, and they ramble forward with all the disparaging thoughts against the people in their lives. And I learned it does not take two people to gossip. It only takes one. Gossip doesn't even really require a listener, because the job is not about responding or having a conversation. Gossip is all about shaming other people and venting in real time. And you can't put the brakes on a loudmouth gossip once that gossip gets started. Because if you do, try to slow it down, shut it down, you become the judgmental one. Yeah, you're the uppity one. You're the bad guy for not going along with the gossip gang. So what choice do you have? You're there. You sit there. You try not to listen. But you definitely do not participate if you want to remain moral and sane. Take it from me. Gossip ruins you by association. Gossip isn't about thoughts or big ideas or books or learning. No, none of that. Gossip is just mean and terrible things said about other people just to hurt them. And yes, my human meme friend, that is the true word on the street. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.